This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, December 8th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Lawmakers take to the Sunday shows to debate the legality of the so-called double-tap strike on a disabled Venezuela drug boat last September. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
President Trump and Representative Ilhan Omar, and
an unhealthy and creepy obsession that he has with me.
I'm Rich Johnson.
The man accused of planting a pair of pipe bombs outside the headquarters of the Republican and Democratic National Parties confessed to investigators. Ed Donahue, Washington.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a winning week last week, and investors are hoping for an interest rate cut this week. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
President Trump accusing Henry Cuellar of a lack of loyalty. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Social Security Administration plans to cut foot traffic to its field offices by 50% next year. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's authorization to launch a second attack against a previously struck drug smuggling vessel out of Venezuela last September was once again a hotly debated topic on the Sunday shows. John Stolnis has a recap from Washington.
The arguments for and against the so-called double-tap strike ran strictly down partisan lines. Republican Senator Tom Cotton telling NBC's Meet the Press, it's clear two survivors of the initial strike still posed a threat, and the Pentagon was right in targeting them again.
They were not incapacitated. They were not in the water, surviving only because they had a life jacket or hanging to a plank of wood. They were sitting on that boat. They were clearly moving around on it.
However, Democratic Congressman Adam Smith on ABC's This Week disputes that version of events.
There were two survivors on an overturned boat, and Senator Cotton's description of it is simply not accurate. When they were finally taken out, they were trying to flip the boat over. The boat was clearly incapacitated. A tiny portion of it remained, capsized the bow of the boat. They had no communications device. Certainly they were unarmed. Any claim that the drugs had somehow survived that attack is hard to really square with what we saw.
Democratic Congressman Jim Hines on CBS's Face the Nation also saw the video of the second strike during a closed briefing with the Navy Admiral in charge of the operation last week.
As many times as Tom Cotton may say that it doesn't matter what they were doing, it matters essentially what they were doing, because under the law, and if you've spent 15 minutes in law school, you know this, attacking them is a violation of the laws of war. And these guys, and this is why the American people need to see this video, these guys were barely alive, much less engaging in hostilities.
Cotton says Hegseth's Defense Department has been following the rules of war throughout these military operations against drug smuggling vessels.
That is in contrast, for instance, to another strike that Secretary Hegseth described just yesterday in October, in which you had two survivors who were in that state. They were essentially just dog paddling in the water. And what happened on that strike? A U.S. vessel went and picked those survivors up and took them back to their home country.
Senator Cotton said he would not be opposed to the classified video of the second strike being released to the public. John Stolnis, Washington.
The rhetoric over ICE enforcement tactics and the denunciation of one group in particular, along with a sitting U.S. Congresswoman, got white hot on the Sunday talk shows. Correspondent Rich Johnson has details.
When it comes to ICE officers doing their job, Border Czar Tom Homan says his people have endured threats and violence thanks to all the negative things being said about them.
The bloodshed's going to continue as long as the rhetoric continues, especially from members of Congress. It emboldens the bad guy to take actions against ICE and Border Patrol.
That's Homan on Fox. As for legal immigrants and U.S. citizens being swept up in ICE raids, Homan told CNN,
if they're in the country legally, they got no reason to be afraid. ICE is looking for those in the country legally, and we're still prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. That's the priority.
Much of the recent rhetoric's focused on a series of pandemic fraud schemes that stole hundreds of millions of dollars. The leader of the group at the center of the fraud was convicted earlier this year. Several others have pleaded guilty or been convicted, and most of the top people were Somali Americans. And now the Treasury Department says it will investigate whether any of that money went to a Somalia-based al-Qaeda affiliate, al-Shabaab. Minnesota's Somali-born member of Congress, Ilhan Omar, believes the claim is false. But she also had much to say
Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage.
About President Trump's pointed personal insults of her and her fellow Somali Americans.
These are people that do nothing but complain. They complained. And from where they came from, they got nothing. We don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
There is an unhealthy obsession that he has on the Somali community, and an unhealthy and creepy obsession that he has with me.
Omar told CBS's Face the Nation that Trump is not insulting all that many immigrants.
These are Americans that he is calling garbage.
Statistics from the state of Minnesota show that the majority of people with Somali heritage in that state were born in the U.S. Somalis came to the U.S. in large numbers under a U.S. refugee program following the collapse of Somalia's government in 1991. I'm Rich Johnson.
Pipe bomb suspect's confession. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Back on America in the Morning with a check of Monday's forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A Clipper-type storm moving across the east central part of the country today is going to lead to another round of snow into portions of eastern Kentucky, into West Virginia, and northern North Carolina. Snow will be heavy enough to lead to slippery travel throughout the day. And in total, 1 to 3 inches will fall during the day and early tonight, though some of the mountain areas around West Virginia and southwest Virginia could see upwards of 6 inches. A little farther to the south, this same system will produce a shower or two through southern North Carolina into South Carolina and eastern Georgia. Meanwhile, another part of the system will lead to a few showers and thunderstorms through southern Florida, a few of which could bring some heavy rainfall. Farther west, another Clipper system will be entering the U.S. from Canada into North Dakota and northern Minnesota, and this too will have snow along and ahead of the storm from northwest North Dakota into northern Minnesota this afternoon, and then extending into northern Wisconsin and Michigan tonight. And yet another more powerful storm will follow Tuesday into Wednesday, and yes, it's still a Clipper. Heading out into the northwest, we're seeing an oppressive setup known as an atmospheric river coming across the area, and this is going to produce a significant amount of rain over several days. Rain today could fall up to 2 to 4 inches, especially along the coast, and rain through Wednesday could be up to a foot, leading to flooding and even some mudslides. The rest of the west will be largely dry with some decent sunshine and afternoon temperatures in the 40s and 50s in the north to the upper 70s in the south. That's the weather across America. It will be quite cold in Burlington, Vermont today, despite sunshine with a high of just 18. It's going to be warmer in Brownsville, Texas, with sunshine and a high around 70. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Over the weekend, prosecutors for the Department of Justice hit a legal roadblock while seeking a new indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. Correspondent Donna Warder reports this after a new grand jury last week declined to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Federal Judge Colleen Kohler-Catelli ruled Saturday night that the Justice Department is temporarily barred from using evidence prosecutors had relied on when they initially secured criminal charges against former FBI Director James Comey. Comey was charged in September with lying to Congress, but the case was tossed out last month after a different judge ruled that the Trump administration unlawfully appointed prosecutor Lindsay Halligan, who filed the charges. Prosecutors had relied on messages between Comey and Columbia University law professor and close friend Daniel Richman as evidence. Richman's attorneys argued that the data from Richman's computer files exceeded the scope of any warrant. Kohler-Catelli has granted Richman a temporary restraining order. Comey's lawyers already have said that the statute of limitations to bring such a case against their client has expired. Donna Warder, Washington.
New details and a confession have emerged following the capture of the person suspected of the 2021 pipe bomb case in Washington. Ed Donahue reports.
The man accused of planting a pair of pipe bombs outside the headquarters of the Republican and Democratic national parties in Washington on the eve of the Capitol riot made his first court appearance. Sources tell the AP Brian Cole Jr. confessed to investigators and also indicated he believed the 2020 election was stolen and expressed views supportive of President Trump. Cole was ordered to remain in jail. He did not enter a plea and is due back in court in about 10 days. An FBI affidavit says investigators identified Cole as a suspect through analysis of credit card charges related to the purchase of pipe bomb components, information from cell phone towers, and a license plate reader. The bombs were rendered safe at the time. No one was hurt, but the FBI says the devices could have been lethal. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Netflix potential treasure trove. It's 18 after. Netflix potential treasure trove of new movies. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is sponsored by Gusto. Gusto's a simple online payroll and benefits tool built for small businesses. Learn more at gusto.com/radio. And on how we'll find markets at the open today, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning week for stocks. Investors are hoping the Fed will cut interest rates this week by at least a 1/4 percentage point. Experts are hopeful your stocks will go up into the end of the year.
December is usually a good month, but can go either way. Actually, one of the most reliable periods for December is the trading days between Christmas and New Year's. That's up almost 90% of the time. So we could reach new records.
That's Wharton professor Jeremy Siegel on CNBC. Inflation data that's 3 months old came out last Friday, the PCE showing that inflation was little changed in September. The delay was because of the government shutdown. Compared with a year ago, overall prices rose 2.8%. That was up slightly from 2.7% in August. The Fed faces a tricky decision this week. Normally, it would keep rates higher to fight inflation. But the group's also worried about weak hiring and a rising unemployment rate, and cutting rates might help the job market. Investors spent the weekend talking about Netflix being the high bidder for Warner Brothers Discovery. It would get the movie studio and streaming business and then spin off the cable channels of Discovery. Here's Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos.
I know some of you are surprised that we're making this acquisition, and I certainly understand why. Over the years, we have been known to be builders, not buyers. We already have incredible shows and movies and a great business model, but this is a rare opportunity.
And here's a take from Lightshed's Rich Greenfield on CNBC.
If you think about Netflix, the engagement has stagnated a bit, and I think one of big investors' biggest concerns has been, why is engagement not growing faster? YouTube has been the one that has just literally been exploding, taking share. Netflix is looking at this going, there is so much underexploited IP in this company. How do they use Warner Brothers to re-accelerate the overall engagement growth and time spent? There is just so much stuff.
A Netflix purchase of Warner Brothers needs government approval.
Netflix is not favorably viewed within this administration. I'm now being told by a senior administration official the first blush reaction that we are getting is heavy skepticism. So how does that materialize? I think in the Department of Justice antitrust process. But I think if President Trump wants to flex here, and he often does, there are a whole host of other elements of executive power that he could bring to bear in a way that we just typically wouldn't see in a normal administration, to put quote marks around the word normal there.
That's CNBC's Eamon Javers. On today's watch list, we get earnings from home builder Toll Brothers, and the Golden Globe nominees will be announced.
All right, there's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Monday Business. When we return on America in the Morning, changes for Social Security recipients after these messages. This is America in the Morning. President Trump is going after Texas Democrat Congressman Henry Cuellar following last week's presidential pardon. Here's correspondent Clayton Neville with that story.
Henry Cuellar's running as a Democrat in Texas despite a recent pardon of he and his wife by President Trump. Cuellar and his wife were indicted last year on federal bribery charges and claimed they were targeted by the Biden administration. There was some speculation that Cuellar could run as a Republican and help allow the GOP to maintain a slight majority after next year's midterm elections, but that didn't happen. And President Trump took to social media to react. He posted on Truth Social and hinted at a lack of loyalty. He said, quote, "Next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy." He criticized Cuellar for continuing to work with, quote, the same radical left scum that just weeks before wanted him and his wife to spend the rest of their lives in prison, end quote. I'm Clayton Neville.
Changes coming for those planning to or currently receiving Social Security involving being able to visit a local office. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer explains.
The Social Security Administration plans to cut foot traffic to its field offices by 50% next year. Advocates worry that could lead to more office closures. Field offices have been crucial for in-person help with retirement and disability benefits. The plan outlines a target of no more than 15 million visits in 2026. A spokesperson says technology improvements mean that more people manage their benefits online or by phone. This year, 7,000 workers have been laid off. Some rural offices have already closed due to staffing issues. Critics argue that this move limits access for those without technology. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Monday, December 8th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Russia has launched a significant missile and drone attack on Ukraine. I'm Rican Garcia.
Pearl Harbor, 84 years later. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Federal Vaccine Advisory Committee voted to end the long-standing recommendation all babies get the hepatitis B vaccine. I'm Ed Donahue.
More than 11 years after it disappeared, the search for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is restarting. I'm Nayeon Kim.
President Trump steals the spotlight from the Kennedy Center honorees. I'm Kevin Carr.
911 calls released following Texas flooding, another Charlotte train stabbing, and a wrap-up from the weekend in Monday sports. Back after these messages. Our show continues this Monday. This is America in the Morning. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
In the Northwest, we are seeing a setup known as an atmospheric river coming into the area, and this is going to produce a significant amount of rain over several days. Rain today could total 2 to 4 inches, especially along the coast, and rain through Wednesday. Some areas could see up to a foot of rainfall, and then that time there could be some flooding and mudslides. The rest of the West is going to be largely dry today with some decent sunshine and afternoon temperatures in the 40s and 50s in the north to upper 70s in the south. And that dry weather will continue eastward through the Rockies into the central and southern plains. Some western areas of the plains will be mild with highs in the 40s and 50s in parts of South Dakota into Nebraska and warming to the 70s in southern Texas. That's 20 degrees above average in the north, a little bit closer to average in the south. It will be dry and quite cold in the Great Lakes and Northeast today. Highs in parts of New England will hold in the single digits and only reach into the 20s and 30s farther south. Heading into the east central parts of the states, we'll look at another storm moving across the area, leading to some snow in parts of eastern Kentucky into West Virginia, and northern North Carolina. Snow will be heavy enough to cause slippery travel throughout the day with 1 to 3 inches for most areas today and early tonight. A little farther to the south, that same system will produce a few showers through southern North Carolina into South Carolina and eastern Georgia. We have a few showers and thunderstorms as well in parts of southern Florida. And another Clipper system will be entering the U.S. from Canada into North Dakota and northern Minnesota, and that too will have snow along and ahead of the system from northwest North Dakota into northern Minnesota this afternoon, and then extending into Wisconsin and Michigan tonight. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. There were talks over the weekend in Miami involving Ukrainian officials and a U.S. delegation led by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff that produced no meaningful results and came as Russia bombarded parts of Ukraine with a missile and drone attack that led to several deaths targeting infrastructure, including energy plants and railroads. Ukrainian President Zelensky announced he'll be in London today to meet in person with UK Prime Minister Starmer and the leaders of France and Germany in an effort to get more European backing, which came after President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., told a meeting of nations in Qatar that the U.S. may end support for Ukraine. Correspondent Rika Ann Garcia reports.
Russia has launched a significant missile and drone attack on Ukraine. First responders are dealing with a devastating aftermath of the attack, where they're seen extinguishing flames at a burnt-down warehouse. The strike comes as U.S.-mediated peace talks continue, with U.S. and Ukrainian officials working to end the nearly 4-year-old war. They've made some progress on a security framework for post-war Ukraine. However, both sides acknowledge that real progress depends on Russia's commitment to peace. During the attack, Ukraine's Air Force reported shooting down numerous drones and missiles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said energy facilities were the main targets. The attacks occurred as Ukraine prepared to mark Armed Forces Day. Russia also reported it had shot down a smaller number of Ukrainian drones. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
Newly released 911 phone calls reveal sheer panic, desperation, and people begging for help in the alarming moments during July's deadly flooding in Texas. Correspondent Donna Warder reports on an emergency system overwhelmed with nearly 200 calls in less than 2 hours and a limited number of 911 operators who found themselves struggling to provide survival guidance. Audio courtesy of the Kerrville, Texas Police Department.
How many people are there? There's 3, and we're stuck in it. 2 elderly people. Please help. I can't. Okay. Really quickly, I need you to take a really deep breath. I understand we have everybody headed that direction, but I need you to take a deep breath, okay? What's a good callback number for you? I can't get out. I'm scared.
They pleaded for help in one 911 phone call after the other.
We are stuck in a house at 5939. Please help. The building's falling apart. Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh.
And you're unable to get out?
Oh, the water's so high. Oh no. Oh no.
I'm stuck in this room. I can't get out. There's windows broken, and there's water coming in through it.
Some families were huddled on rooftops, some people trapped inside homes.
The flooding is pretty bad, so we will have them out there, okay?
The flooding is very, very bad.
They were in Kirk County, Texas, where in July, devastating floods killed at least 117 people, 136 statewide. Some of the worst flooding was at Camp Mystic, a summer camp for girls, where 25 campers and 2 teen counselors died.
We live about a mile down the road from Camp Mystic, and we've already got 2 little girls who have come down the river, and we've gotten to them, but I'm not sure how many else are out there.
There were more than 400 calls for help across Kerr County. I'm Donna Warder.
Sunday marked the 84th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor and America's entry into World War II. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports on the annual ceremony held in Hawaii.
Left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left.
On December 7th, 1941, a surprise attack on Oahu's naval and air bases drew the United States into World War II. More than 2,400 Americans were killed, including more than 1,100 aboard the USS Arizona. Since then, Pearl Harbor has served as a place of remembrance. Sunday, a remembrance ceremony was held at Pearl Harbor National Memorial. David Ono is a news anchor in LA and was the master of ceremonies.
This annual ceremony serves as a moment of reflection and gratitude, but also as a call to action. It's a reminder to build on the solid foundation left by the greatest generation, adapting to new challenges with the same fortitude and commitment. And as we honor the past, we look ahead, ensuring that the lessons of history continue to guide us in creating a future that upholds the values of courage, resilience, and peace.
Veteran Suzanne Puanani Verislam delivered remarks to the crowd.
84 years ago, the calm waters of Pu'uloa, or Pearl Harbor, were forever changed. This sacred harbor reminds the world that from pain, peace can rise.
The ceremony included a dozen World War II veterans and 5 Rosies.
And I am humbled standing on this hallowed ground among our honored guests, our treasures of the nation, our World War II veterans, sitting right here and online, who served and fought so valiantly, and our resilient Pearl Harbor survivors who are not here today, but we remember them, and our cherished Rosie the Riveters sitting there in the second row and third row.
None of the 12 still living Pearl Harbor survivors were able to make it to this year's ceremony. I'm Clayton Neville.
Eliminating federal officer tracking apps. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. It happened again in North Carolina, a stabbing on a commuter train in Charlotte. Police alleged that a 33-year-old man got into an argument on a light rail train, which escalated and led to a person being stabbed. The man arrested was an undocumented migrant who had twice been previously deported. A judge ordered Oscar Solorzano to be held without bail, facing attempted murder charges. It was in August that a 23-year-old Ukrainian woman was stabbed to death in that case by a man with a history of mental illness aboard a Charlotte, North Carolina light train. The government has released a new vaccine guideline for babies, eliminating one that the CDC says is unnecessary despite concern from some in the healthcare industry. Ed Donahue reports.
The Federal Vaccine Advisory Committee voted to end the long-standing recommendation all babies get the hepatitis B vaccine on the day they're born. All members have been appointed by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a leading anti-vaccine activist, before this year becoming the nation's top health official. The committee includes Retsef Levy.
These were approved based on outrageous criteria. And specifically when you think about the safety, it's outrageous criteria. As a father and as a scientist, I don't know how we have the courage, based on such slim evidence, to come to parents and tell them that that's okay to give to your 0-day baby.
The vote was 8-3. Dr. Cody Meisner is also on the advisory committee.
We have heard do no harm is a moral imperative. We are doing harm by changing this wording. And I vote no.
The shots have been widely considered to be a public health success for preventing thousands of illnesses. I'm Ed Donahue.
The plan championed by President Trump to open up oil drilling on the east and west coast of Florida isn't sitting well with some GOP members of Congress. Lisa Dwyer reports.
Florida's Republican-dominated congressional delegation is urging the Trump administration to drop a plan that would allow new oil drilling for the first time in decades off of Florida's coast. The letter was signed by Republicans Senator Rick Scott and Ashley Moody, as well as by 28 House members from Florida, saying that the Interior Department plan would put the state's thriving tourism industry at risk and disrupt military operations in key training areas.
You know, one of the reasons I originally ran for Congress was to protect what makes Florida special, our beaches, clean air, and clean water. That's why for a number of sessions, I've been the lead author of the Florida Coastal Protection Act to permanently ban oil drilling off of Gulf waters.
The letter does not criticize Trump. Instead, lawmakers praised Trump's actions during his first term, when he imposed a moratorium on drilling, after a similar pushback from Florida lawmakers. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A new search is being planned for the wreckage of the MH370 flight that disappeared more than a decade ago, and this one will be led by a firm from Texas. Correspondent Naum Kim reports.
More than 11 years after it disappeared, the search for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is restarting. Malaysia's Transport Ministry said Texas-based firm Ocean Infinity will resume its deep-sea hunt later this month under a no-find, no-fee deal. The company has upgraded its technology since its last search in 2018 and will focus on areas considered most likely to hold the missing Boeing 777. The aircraft vanished in 2014 on a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing carrying 239 people. Only small pieces of debris have ever been found. Ocean Infinity will search from December 30 and will be paid $70 million only if wreckage is discovered. I'm Nayan Kim.
Federal lawmakers have demanded that Google and Apple remove any federal officer tracking software, such as those used to call out ICE raids from their online app stores. Chuck Palm has that in today's Tech Report.
U.S. lawmakers are now directly challenging Google and Apple to strip away apps that track federal immigration agents. This raises profound questions about safety, free speech, and the boundaries of digital tools in a politically polarized world. On December 5th, the House Committee on Homeland Security fired off letters to Google's CEO Sundar Pichai and Apple head Tim Cook, demanding immediate action against mobile apps that enable real-time tracking of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. At the center of this controversy is the now removed app called ICE which surged to over 1 million downloads amidst heightened immigration debates and allowed users to anonymously report and monitor agent movements. Lawmakers, citing a Supreme Court precedent, emphasize that free speech protections don't cover advocacy for imminent lawless action. Find me at thenewoldtechguy.com. I'm Chuck Palm.
America in the Morning continues with Monday Sports and our Robert Workman.
NFL Week 14, no playoff clinchers yet, but the division races are heating up. AFC South, Jaguars jacked up the Colts for their 4th straight win. Indy lost quarterback Daniel Jones for the rest of the season to a torn Achilles. In primetime, the Texans topped the Chiefs to move ahead of the Colts as well. Houston has won 5 in a row. AFC North, the Steelers repelled the Ravens to move in front. Broncos beat the Raiders. 10 consecutive victories should make Coach Sean Payton happy.
Each win is a step. There's a number of things we're going to go back and watch the tape and be upset about. Some silly penalties, some missed assignments.
Maybe not. Josh Allen accounted for 4 scores as the Bills rally past the Bengals to make up a little ground on the idle Patriots. NFC North, Packers took their 4th straight, beating the Bears. In the West, the Rams routed the Cardinals, and the Seahawks stomped on the Falcons. Both teams now 10-3. The Saints upended the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay now tied with Carolina for first in the South. Tonight, it's the Eagles and the Chargers. The college football playoff is set. Buys for the top 4 teams, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech. The next 4, Oregon, Mississippi, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, will host playoff games. Alabama held on to the 9 seed despite a 21-point loss to Georgia in the SEC final, while idle Miami somehow inched up into 10th, where Notre Dame had been. The committee filled the last 2 spots with conference champions Tulane from the American and James Madison from the Sun Belt, leaving the Irish and their 10-game winning streak out in the cold. Baseball's winter meetings are underway in Orlando. The first order of business, Hall of Fame voting. The Contemporary Era Committee selected Jeff Kent, who hit more home runs than any other second baseman. He'll enter Cooperstown next summer, along with the writers' selections, which will be revealed next month. That's Monday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, President Trump and Sylvester Stallone after these messages. President Trump took part in the annual Kennedy Center Honors, with honorees including Sylvester Stallone and George Strait receiving medals in an event hosted by the president. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr reports.
The Kennedy Center Honors took place last night in Washington, D.C., with Donald Trump as host, making him the first president to do so. This comes after the controversial decision to install supporters on the board and make himself chairman. In August, he said part of his goal was to reshape the arts focus in the country.
We ended the woke political programming, and we're restoring the Kennedy Center as the premier venue for performing arts anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world.
Under Trump's oversight, the honorees included country singer George Strait, actor Sylvester Stallone, the rock band Kiss, Broadway legend Michael Crawford, and disco diva Gloria Gaynor. Trump invited them to the Oval Office on Saturday, where he remarked on their contributions to the arts.
There's a group of icons whose work and accomplishments have inspired, uplifted, and unified millions and millions of Americans.
Trump made a prediction about this year's ceremony.
This will be the highest rated show that they've ever done, and they've gotten some pretty good ratings, but there's nothing like what's going to happen.
On the red carpet at the Kennedy Center last night, Trump again praised the honorees.
Well, we have great honorees. This is a group that really is unique.
When asked about hosting the event, he talked about his preparation.
Well, maybe I haven't prepared. Maybe you want to be a little bit loose.
The Kennedy Center honors will be aired on CBS and Paramount Plus on December 23rd at 8 p.m. I'm Kevin Carr.
The torch relay for the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Olympic Games began over the weekend, exactly 2 months to the day before the February 6th opening ceremony. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Olympic swimming champion Gregorio Peltrinieri carries the sleek torch around the track of the statue-lined Stadio dei Marmi to begin a nearly 7,500-mile trek that will wind its way through all 110 Italian provinces before reaching Milan's San Siro Stadium for the opening ceremony. It's a lot of emotions that gives us the right energy, says Milan Cortina CEO Andrea Vania, commenting on the launch of the relay.
It's a lot of emotion these last 2 days, going to Greece, getting the flame, bringing it to our president. It was fantastic. I think he gave an incredible speech yesterday. And today, finally seeing all our work taking form, and with the relay starting. It's a lot of emotion that gives us the right energy to go on for the next 60 days, because there's still a lot of work to do in Milano and Cortina and in the mountains, but it's good to see on a beautiful day like this that we start bringing the Olympic flame around the country.
The torch relay, which includes 60 city celebrations, will be in Naples for Christmas and in Bari for New Year's Eve. It will reach 2026 Olympics host Turin on January 11. In all, there'll be 10,001 torchbearers. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
America in the Morning for Monday, December 8th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.